You deserve success that feels real and lasting. You deserve respect that comes from your own strength. You deserve a life where your efforts match your rewards. But wanting more is not enough. Becoming more is the real challenge. It means growing your skills, habits, and mindset. It means facing discomfort and pushing past it every day. It means taking full responsibility for where you are and where you want to go. This journey is not easy. It will test your patience and discipline, but the payoff is worth every struggle. Imagine waking up with confidence, purpose, and momentum. Imagine having the tools to handle setbacks and keep moving forward. This video will show you how to make that transformation real. If you're ready to stop waiting and start becoming the person who earns the life you want, then let's dive in. Chapter 1. Set higher standards for yourself in daily actions. You say you want more from life. You say you want success, respect, stability, and happiness. But here's the reality. Wanting more doesn't make it happen. Getting more isn't about luck. It's about the standards you set for yourself and the way you live every single day. Standards are not dreams. They are not wishes. They are the rules you decide you will live by, no matter what. The truth is, most people don't fail because they don't have potential. They fail because their standards are too low. They accept being late. They accept being lazy when they feel tired. They accept giving half their effort when they know they could give all of it. And here's the uncomfortable truth. When you accept those things, you are training yourself to live below your potential. If you want more from life, you need to start by expecting more from yourself every single day. And that doesn't happen overnight. It's a decision, followed by action, followed by consistency. That's how new standards are built. Think about your mornings. Do you wake up when you said you would, or do you hit the snooze button? That one choice sets the tone for your day. If you can't keep your word to yourself in the first hour of the day, how will you keep it in the harder hours that follow? High standards start with the small promises you make to yourself and keep. If you say you will wake up early, then you wake up early. If you say you will work out, then you work out, even if it's raining, even if you're tired, even if nobody is watching. This isn't about being perfect. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is the goal. But progress can't happen if you keep letting yourself off the hook. Every time you tell yourself, "It's okay, I'll do it tomorrow," you lower your standard. And when you lower your standard often enough, it becomes your normal. That's how people get stuck in mediocrity, by letting low standards feel comfortable. Raising your standards is uncomfortable in the beginning. It means you will have to say no to things that waste your time. It means you will have to push yourself when you feel like stopping. It means holding yourself accountable when you fail, instead of blaming someone else. It's hard, but so is staying where you are. You have to choose your hard. Here's a reality you need to face. No one is coming to raise your standards for you. The world will let you stay where you are forever, if you let it. The only person who can demand more from you is you. And the truth is, when you demand more from yourself in your daily actions, your life will slowly begin to change. You'll notice you're more disciplined. You'll notice your confidence grows. And you'll start to see results in areas where you've been stuck for years. Think about your work ethic. If you're doing just enough to get by, you're setting a low standard. If you're doing more than you're paid for, if you're going the extra mile without being asked, you're setting a high standard, and high standards get noticed. They create opportunities. They make people trust you, depend on you, and respect you. It's the same in your personal life. If you keep your word to others but break it to yourself, your standard is low. If you're there for people when you say you will be, if you're reliable, if you show up fully present in your relationships, you are raising your standard. People feel the difference, and you feel the difference. Ask yourself this question: if someone else followed my daily habits exactly, would their life improve or get worse? That answer will tell you everything you need to know about your current standards. Setting higher standards also means cutting out behaviors that you know are holding you back. If you spend hours scrolling on your phone, cut it down. If you waste time on meaningless conversations, replace them with learning something useful. If you skipped workouts, start showing up. It's not about doing more for the sake of doing more. It's about replacing low-value actions with high-value actions. That's how you raise your life standard. Don't just focus on the big things. The small things matter more than you think. How you talk to people, how you take care of your space, how you manage your money, how you manage your energy. These small details reflect your standards. If you treat the small things like they don't matter, that mindset will spill into the big areas of your life too. Remember this: your standards are not what you say they are what you live by every single day. If you want to know your real standards, look at your actions, not your words. Do you give your best effort, or just enough to get by? Do you keep going when it's uncomfortable, or do you stop the moment it's hard? Do you demand growth from yourself, or do you stay the same year after year? Your answers reveal your true standards. The change you want in your life will only happen when your daily actions rise to meet the level of your goals. You can't expect a championship result from a casual effort. You can't expect a stronger body if you train once a month. You can't expect financial freedom if you waste your money on every impulse. Your results will always match your standards. So today, make a choice. Decide what kind of person you want to be, and start living like that person now. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now. Set the standard for your health. Set the standard for your work. Set the standard for how you treat people. Set the standard for how you treat yourself. And then protect that standard every single day, no matter how small the action seems. Your life will never rise higher than your standards. If you want more, become more. If you want respect, act in a way that earns respect. If you want success, work like someone who deserves success. If you want happiness, live in a way that produces happiness. And if you want all of it, then raise your standards so high that you refuse to accept anything less from yourself. The person you are becoming is shaped by the standards you set today. Set them high and live up to them, because you truly do deserve more. But you will only get it when you become more. Chapter 2. Replace excuses with consistent and disciplined effort. Excuses are easy. They're comfortable. They're the quickest way to avoid responsibility and still feel like you have a reason for not doing what you said you would do. But here's the truth. Excuses don't change your life. They protect your comfort today but cost you progress tomorrow. If you're serious about becoming more, you have to stop hiding behind excuses and replace them with consistent, disciplined effort. Everyone can come up with a reason why they can't do something. Too busy, too tired, not enough resources. The timing isn't right. Someone else didn't support them. And sometimes those reasons even sound convincing. But convincing or not, they still lead to the same place, staying stuck. Every time you make an excuse, you're not just skipping the task, you're reinforcing a habit. You're teaching your mind that you don't have to follow through when it's inconvenient. Disciplined effort is the opposite of excuses. Discipline means doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. Consistency means showing up again and again, not only when the conditions are perfect, but especially when they're not. If you can build these two habits, discipline and consistency, you will outgrow most of the problems holding you back right now. Think about this. Your life right now is the sum of what you've done consistently over the past few years. If you've been making excuses more often than taking action, your results reflect that. If you've been disciplined and put in the work day after day, your results reflect that too. The truth is, the gap between where you are and where you want to be is filled with disciplined effort. The first step is to be brutally honest with yourself about the excuses you've been making. Excuses can hide in plain sight. Sometimes they sound like self-care. I'll rest today because I've been working hard. Sometimes they sound like patience. I'll start when the timing is better. Sometimes they sound like fairness. It's not worth trying because others have advantages I don't. The reality is, most excuses are just fear or laziness disguised as logic. The moment you stop making excuses, you take back control. You stop waiting for conditions to be perfect and start moving forward with what you have. Discipline is about doing the work. Anyway, when you're tired, when you're not motivated, when no one is watching, and when you'd rather do something easier, the reward for that kind of effort isn't just the results you get, it's the person you become in the process. Stronger, more reliable, and more capable. Consistency is where real change happens. One intense effort won't change your life. 10 intense efforts in a row might start to move the needle, but it's hundreds of consistent efforts over time that transform everything. People fail not because they don't try hard enough once, but because they stop trying too soon. They think one setback means they can't succeed, so they pull back and wait for another right time to start. That cycle can go on for years. Replace that with a commitment. No matter what happens, you will keep showing up. If you set a goal to work on your health, you move your body every day, even if it's just a short workout. If you set a goal to save money, you put something aside every month, even if it's less than you hoped. If you set a goal to build a skill, you practice it regularly, even if progress feels slow. Consistency isn't about being perfect, it's about refusing to quit. The connection between discipline and freedom is something most people don't understand. Discipline feels restrictive at first. You're telling yourself what you must do, instead of doing whatever you feel like. But over time, discipline creates freedom. Freedom to choose your future, instead of being forced to accept what life hands you. Freedom to enjoy the rewards you've worked for, instead of living with regrets about the chances you didn't take. One of the strongest habits you can develop is replacing "I can't" with "how can I?" Every time you're tempted to make an excuse, ask yourself, how could I still make progress, even if it's smaller than I wanted? Maybe you can't go to the gym today, but you can do a home workout. Maybe you can't work for 3 hours straight, but you can work for 30 minutes without distraction. This mindset turns obstacles into adjustments instead of dead ends. The truth is, no one is inspired by excuses, not even you. If you've ever told yourself, "I'll start tomorrow," you know how empty that promise feels. Compare that to the satisfaction of doing what you said you'd do, even when it was hard. That feeling builds confidence. Every disciplined action tells your mind, "I can trust myself." That's how you become more, not through talk, but through action. It's also important to recognize that discipline is not built in a day. It's built in moments. Every time you feel like skipping something and you do it anyway, you're laying another brick in the foundation of discipline. Over time, this becomes who you are. You're no longer someone who makes excuses. You're someone who follows through. And here's a fact you need to remember: the world rewards consistent effort. If you're the one who shows up on time, who delivers what you promise, who works steadily toward your goals, Opportunities start to find you. People notice reliability. They trust it. They recommend it. And trust opens doors that excuses will always keep closed. Some days will be harder than others. There will be moments when you're exhausted, when progress feels invisible, when no one seems to care about the effort you're putting in. Those moments test whether you are serious. If you keep going, those same moments will become the reason you succeed when others quit. If you stop, those moments will be the turning point where you gave up on what could have been yours. Consistency and discipline are also about self-respect. When you commit to something and follow through, you're proving to yourself that your word matters. That builds a level of inner strength no one can take from you. On the other hand, when you make promises and break them, you lose trust in yourself. And when you don't trust yourself, it's hard to believe you can accomplish anything big. If you want to become more, excuses can't be part of your daily language. You can acknowledge difficulties without letting them stop you. You can recognize challenges without surrendering to them. Every challenge is an opportunity to choose action over avoidance. So make this decision from today forward. Excuses are no longer the default. When you're tired, you'll still take a step. When you're busy, you'll find a way to fit in the important things. When you're not motivated, you'll remind yourself why you started. Over time, these small acts of discipline will build into something unshakable. You deserve more than a life full of "I could have" and "I almost." You deserve the pride that comes from knowing you kept going when most would have stopped. You deserve the results that only disciplined, consistent effort can bring. And the best part is, the moment you stop making excuses and start acting with discipline, you've already become more. The results will follow, but the change in who you are happens the moment you choose action over avoidance. You control that choice every day. And the more you choose it, the more you grow. Chapter 3. Learn a new skill that challenges your current limits. There's a point in life where routine becomes a trap. You wake up, do the same tasks, talk to the same people, solve the same problems, and go to bed. It feels safe, but over time that safety can become stagnation. If you want to become more, you need to break that cycle. And one of the most powerful ways to do it is by learning a new skill that stretches you beyond your current limits. A new skill does more than just add something to your resume or your list of abilities. It forces you to grow in ways that staying comfortable never will. It demands focus. It demands persistence. It puts you in situations where you feel awkward, uncertain, and sometimes even frustrated. But those are exactly the situations where growth happens. Staying in your comfort zone keeps you the same. Pushing past it transforms you. Think about the last time you learned something new, really learned it from scratch. At first, it probably felt overwhelming. Maybe your hands didn't work the way you wanted them to. Maybe the concepts didn't make sense. Maybe progress was painfully slow. And yet, the more you practiced, the better you became. That journey from zero skill to competence builds not only ability, but also confidence. It proves to you that you can face challenges and improve, even when it's difficult. The key is to choose a skill that genuinely challenges you. If it's too easy, you won't grow. If it's too familiar, you won't stretch your limits. A true growth skill should make you think, "This is going to be hard," and then make you want to try anyway. It could be something physical, like learning a new sport or training your body in a way you never have before. It could be something mental, like mastering a new language, learning coding, or understanding a complex subject you've always avoided. It could be something creative, like writing, drawing, or public speaking. The specific skill matters less than the fact that it forces you to operate beyond your current abilities. The process of learning a challenging skill teaches discipline in a different way than routine tasks do. In routine, you already know what to expect. You can go through the motions, but with a new skill, every step requires attention. You have to listen, observe, make mistakes, and correct them. You have to show up even when you feel like you're not getting any better. You have to push through the frustration of feeling slow and unskilled. That frustration is where most people quit. They mistake not good yet for can't do it. But the truth is, no one starts out good. Every expert you've ever admired was once a beginner. They stumbled, they failed, they doubted themselves, but they kept going. The only difference between those who master a skill and those who give up is the decision to keep showing up, and the benefits go far beyond the skill itself. When you push your limits in one area, you start to see changes in other parts of your life too. You become more adaptable because you've trained yourself to deal with uncertainty. You become more patient because you've experienced slow, steady progress. You become more resilient because you've learned how to handle setbacks without walking away. Those qualities spill into your work, your relationships, and your goals. One of the biggest challenges in learning a new skill is dealing with self-doubt. The voice in your head will say things like, "You're too old for this," "You don't have the talent," or "You're wasting your time." That voice will always be there in the early stages because you're stepping into the unknown. But the way you silence it is not by arguing with it, it's by taking action anyway. Every time you practice, every time you improve even a little, you weaken that voice. It's also important to commit to the process long enough to see real progress. Dabbling in something for a few days won't change you. You need to give yourself enough time to move past the beginner stage and see the results of consistent effort. Set a timeline. For example, commit to practicing 3 times a week for 3 months before you decide whether or not to continue. This way you give the skill a fair chance to develop before making a judgment. Another powerful benefit of learning a new skill is that it changes the way you see yourself. You stop identifying only with who you've been and start seeing yourself as someone who is capable of more. If you've always thought of yourself as not good with technology, learning a tech-related skill can completely shift that self-image. If you've always been shy, practicing public speaking can show you that you can be confident. The skill becomes proof that you're not limited to the person you've been so far. You might also notice that learning one skill opens the door to others. Confidence in your ability to learn builds momentum. Once you've proven to yourself that you can start as a beginner and improve, you become more willing to try new things. That willingness is a huge advantage in life because the world changes fast. The people who can learn and adapt will always have an edge. Of course, you will face setbacks. You will have days when you feel like you're getting worse instead of better. You will have moments when you question whether it's worth it. Those moments are the real test. If you push through them, you not only improve the skill, you also strengthen your mindset. You become the kind of person who doesn't quit when things get hard. And that is a quality that will serve you in every part of life. Accountability can help you stay on track. Tell someone you trust what you're working on and how often you plan to practice, or join a group of people who are also learning the skill. Being surrounded by others on the same journey can keep you motivated and make the process more enjoyable. It also exposes you to different perspectives and tips that can speed up your learning. Remember, this is not just about adding another line to your list of abilities. It's about challenging yourself to grow. It's about breaking the limits you've accepted for too long. It's about proving to yourself that you can become more than you are right now. Every time you face a challenge and overcome it, you raise your standard for what you expect from yourself. So choose a skill, commit to it, show up for it even when you don't feel like it. Embrace the awkwardness of being a beginner. Celebrate small wins along the way, and keep going until you can look back and see how far you've come. The skill will be valuable, but the person you become in the process, that's the real reward. Growth doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you intentionally step into situations that demand more from you than you're used to giving. Learning a new skill that challenges your current limits is one of the most effective ways to do exactly that. And when you do, you'll see firsthand that you truly do deserve more, but you'll also understand why you must become more to get it. Chapter 4. Surround yourself with people who inspire growth. The people you spend the most time with influence your life more than you may realize. Their habits, their attitudes, their values, they all rub off on you whether you notice it or not. If you're serious about becoming more, you can't leave your environment to chance. You have to be intentional about who you let into your inner circle, because the people around you will either pull you forward or hold you back. If you've ever tried to improve yourself while surrounded by people who don't value growth, you know how difficult it can be. Maybe you've shared your goals with someone, only for them to respond with doubt or sarcasm. Maybe you've tried to adopt better habits, but your friends kept encouraging the old ones. It's not always because they want to hurt you. Sometimes it's because your growth makes them uncomfortable. When you raise your standards, it forces others to look at their own. And if they're not ready to change, they may try to pull you back down to keep things familiar. That's why it's so important to surround yourself with people who want more from life, not less. People who are willing to put in the work, push their limits, and support your efforts to do the same. Being around that kind of energy changes you. It keeps you accountable, it motivates you, and it helps you see what's possible. Think about the difference between being in a group where everyone complains versus a group where everyone takes action. In the first, conversations revolve around problems with no real solutions. In the second, conversations revolve around ideas, strategies, and steps forward. The environment shapes your mindset. When you're around people who focus on growth, you naturally start to think bigger and push harder. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire growth doesn't mean cutting everyone else out of your life completely. It means being intentional about where you spend most of your time and who you look to for influence. If you spend 8 hours a day with negative, unmotivated people, a quick coffee with a positive friend once a week won't undo that. You need to make sure the majority of your environment supports the person you're trying to become. One of the most effective ways to find growth-minded people is to go where they are. This could mean joining a class, a workshop, a networking group, or even an online community that shares your goals and values. Seek out spaces where improvement is normal, not unusual. When you're surrounded by people who are constantly learning, achieving, and pushing themselves, it becomes harder to settle for less. Look for people who challenge you in a healthy way. You don't need friends who agree with everything you say. You need people who can point out your blind spots, offer constructive feedback, and push you to think differently. Growth rarely comes from comfort. It comes from being challenged, questioned, and encouraged to do better. It's also important to pay attention to the habits of the people you spend time with. Are they disciplined with their time? Do they take responsibility for their actions? Do they follow through on their commitments? Being around people with strong habits can inspire you to strengthen your own. On the other hand, being around people who constantly make excuses can normalize that behavior in your life. You'll also find But when you're around people who inspire growth, your standards rise naturally. If everyone in your circle is reading, learning, working on their health, or building something meaningful, you won't want to be the one standing still. The group's momentum carries you forward, and because you don't want to let them down, or let yourself down, you'll push yourself harder. Surrounding yourself with the right people also means becoming the right kind of person yourself. If you want to attract ambitious, disciplined, and positive people, you need to embody those qualities too. No one wants to be around someone who only takes and never gives. Be the person who adds value to the group, who supports others, who shares ideas, and who celebrates other people's successes. Sometimes, choosing to surround yourself with growth-minded people means stepping away from relationships that are no longer healthy for you. This can be one of the hardest parts of personal growth. It doesn't always mean there's conflict. It simply means your paths are going in different directions. You can still care about someone without allowing them to be a daily influence in your life. Protecting your environment is not selfish. It's necessary if you want to reach your potential. You should also recognize that inspiring people aren't always the most successful in terms of money or status. Inspiration comes from character, work ethic, resilience, and integrity. Sometimes the most inspiring person in your life might not be the wealthiest or most accomplished. They might just be the one who never gives up, who always finds a way, or who lifts others when they're down. Surround yourself with people whose actions push you to be better, no matter what field they're in. Another key to building a growth-centered circle is to seek diversity, not just in background, but in perspective. If everyone you spend time with thinks exactly like you, your growth will be limited. Surround yourself with people who see the world differently, who have skills you don't, who can teach you something new. Diversity in your circle keeps your thinking sharp and your learning continuous. When you do find the right people, invest in those relationships, show up for them. Support their goals as much as you want them to support yours. Growth is easier and more fulfilling when it's shared. Celebrate each other's wins, learn from each other's mistakes, and keep pushing forward together. Over time, you'll find that these relationships not only help you reach your goals faster, they make the journey far more meaningful. And here's the thing, your circle isn't just about who you're around physically. It's also about the voices you let into your mind, the books you read, the videos you watch, the podcasts you listen to. These are part of your environment too. If you can't always be around growth-minded people in person, fill your mind with the voices of those who will challenge and inspire you from a distance. Surrounding yourself with people who inspire growth is one of the most powerful investments you can make in yourself. It's not just about motivation, it's about accountability, mindset, and influence. The right people will not only believe in your potential, they'll expect you to live up to it. And when you have that kind of support and challenge combined, it becomes much harder to settle for less than you're capable of. So choose your circle wisely. Protect it, build it, contribute to it, because the people you keep close will either be the reason you rise or the reason you stay the same. If you want to become more, be around those who are already on that path and who will walk it with you. Chapter 5. Track your progress and make improvements every week. If you want to become more, you need to know where you stand. Without clear tracking of your progress, it's easy to lose sight of how far you've come and where you need to go next. Growth without measurement is like walking in the dark without a flashlight. You might move forward, but you won't know if you're heading in the right direction. Tracking your progress regularly and making adjustments is a crucial part of becoming more than you are now. Progress tracking is more than just writing down numbers or checking boxes on a to-do list. It's about being honest with yourself and paying attention to the details of your journey. When you take the time to see what's working and what isn't, you gain valuable insight. That insight allows you to make informed decisions about where to focus your energy next. Without it, you're relying on guesswork, hoping for the best. Many people avoid tracking their progress because it forces them to confront uncomfortable truths. It's easier to ignore problems or pretend everything is fine. But growth is not about comfort, it's about truth. When you face the facts, even the ones that show you haven't done enough or where you've slipped, you create the opportunity to improve. Avoidance keeps you stuck. Accountability moves you forward. The process of tracking your progress doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. You don't need fancy tools or apps to do it. What matters is consistency and clarity. For example, if your goal is to improve your fitness, tracking might mean noting how many workouts you complete each week, how much weight you lift, or how far you can run. If your goal is to build a business, tracking could be sales numbers, new contacts, or hours spent on important tasks. The key is to track meaningful data that directly relates to your goals. Tracking distractions or irrelevant details wastes time and energy. Be selective and focus on what truly moves the needle in your life. The clearer you're tracking, the easier it is to recognize progress and spot problems early. Once you have your progress recorded, weekly review sessions become critical. Set aside a specific time each week to review what you've done. Look honestly at the successes and the failures. Celebrate what you've accomplished. Acknowledge what didn't go well, but without judgment or self-punishment. The goal is understanding, not guilt. Then decide what small changes you can make to improve next week. This habit of regular review and adjustment is what separates those who get better over time from those who repeat the same mistakes. Progress is not a straight line, it's a series of steps forward, sometimes sideways, and occasionally backward. The important thing is that your overall direction is forward. Weekly check-ins keep you on track and help you course correct before small issues become big problems. Tracking progress also fuels motivation. When you see proof of your efforts paying off, even if the gains are small, it reminds you why you started. Those moments of recognition build momentum. On days when motivation is low, looking back at what you've already accomplished can push you to keep going. Without tracking, it's easy to feel like you're spinning your wheels, even when you're making progress. Another benefit of tracking your progress is clarity. When everything feels overwhelming, breaking your goals into smaller tracked parts can make them manageable. Instead of focusing on a distant, vague outcome, you focus on the daily and weekly actions that build toward it. This keeps your mind clear and your efforts focused. Improvement requires feedback. When you track progress and review it weekly, you get feedback from your own actions. Sometimes you'll discover that what you thought was helping isn't. Maybe your workout routine isn't effective, or your work schedule isn't producing results. That feedback allows you to make smart adjustments instead of blindly continuing down the wrong path. It's also important to be flexible in your approach. Growth doesn't come from stubbornly sticking to a plan that isn't working. It comes from adapting. If tracking shows a particular strategy isn't producing results, change it. If you're consistently falling short on a habit, reconsider how or when you do it. Improvement is about evolving, not just pushing harder. When you combine consistent tracking with weekly adjustments, you build a system that creates momentum. It's a cycle. Take action, track results, review, adjust, and repeat. This cycle moves you steadily forward. It also makes growth feel less like a distant goal and more like a daily reality. Don't underestimate the power of small improvements. A 1% improvement every day adds up to significant change over time. Weekly tracking highlights these small wins and encourages you to keep stacking them. Growth is the sum of tiny, consistent improvements that build over months and years. Accountability enhances the tracking process. Sharing your goals and progress with someone else, a friend, mentor, or coach, can increase your commitment. When you know someone else is aware of your progress, you're less likely to skip the review or ignore the data. Accountability creates an extra layer of motivation. Tracking progress also builds self-awareness. You start to recognize patterns in your behavior. When you're most productive, what triggers distractions, what habits lead to success, and what leads to failure. This self-knowledge is a powerful tool because it lets you design your life to support your growth instead of working against it. It's important to keep your tracking realistic. Set goals and benchmarks that challenge you but are achievable. Setting goals too high can lead to frustration and burnout. Setting them too low leads to complacency. Find the balance that pushes you enough to grow but doesn't break you. Another challenge is staying honest with yourself. It's tempting to fudge numbers or ignore setbacks to avoid disappointment. But real growth comes from brutal honesty. If you skip a workout or miss a deadline, write it down. If a particular habit isn't sticking, acknowledge it. That honesty is what creates real opportunities for change. Some people track progress with journals, spreadsheets, or apps. Others use simple checklists or verbal summaries. The method matters less than the habit of tracking and reviewing regularly. Find what works for you and make it part of your routine. When progress tracking becomes a habit, it changes how you see growth. It stops feeling like a vague concept and becomes something concrete and measurable. You no longer rely on motivation or memory. You rely on facts. Facts are powerful because they are undeniable, and they guide your next step. Improvement is the evidence of growth. When you see consistent progress over weeks, it builds confidence. That confidence fuels even more effort, creating a positive cycle. Tracking turns growth from a hope into a reality. Finally, understand that tracking progress is a lifelong skill. Your goals will change, your priorities will shift, but the habit of measurement and adjustment will always serve you. It's the foundation that supports continuous growth, no matter what stage of life you're in. If you want more, you must track more. If you want better results, you must measure and improve consistently. Becoming more is a process, and tracking your progress every week keeps that process moving forward. It turns your goals into action, your action into results, and your results into the life you deserve. Chapter 6. Turn failures into lessons and keep moving forward. Failure is one of the most uncomfortable things a person can face. It shakes confidence, stirs doubt, and makes you question your path. But failure is also an essential part of growth. You cannot become more without encountering setbacks. The key is not to avoid failure. That's impossible, but to learn from it and keep moving forward. Failing doesn't mean you're weak or incapable. It means you're trying. It means you're pushing against your limits and reaching for something better. The problem is when failure stops you instead of teaching you. When you look at failure as a full stop rather than a comma in your story, growth comes to a halt. The most successful people are not those who have avoided failure. They are the ones who have faced it again and again and chosen to learn from it every time. Failure becomes their teacher, showing them what didn't work, what needs to change, and where to improve. It sharpens their focus and fuels their determination. When you experience failure, the first step is to accept it without judgment or shame. That doesn't mean you should be happy about it or ignore the pain it brings. It means acknowledging reality honestly. Denying failure or blaming others only delays the lessons it carries. Accepting failure creates space for learning. Once you accept failure, you can analyze it. Ask yourself, what went wrong? What choices led to this outcome? What could I have done differently? The answers aren't always easy, and sometimes they challenge your self-image. But this reflection is where growth begins. Every failure contains clues. Sometimes it's a skill you need to improve. Sometimes it's a strategy that didn't fit the situation. Sometimes it's a mindset or attitude that limited you. Sometimes it's timing or external circumstances. Identifying the lesson requires honesty and patience. It's also important to separate your identity from your failure. Failing at something doesn't make you a failure as a person. You are not defined by your mistakes, but by how you respond to them. When you view failure as part of the process, not a verdict on your worth, you free yourself to try again. Failure also builds resilience. Each time you get back up after a fall, you strengthen your ability to handle adversity. Over time, this resilience becomes a core part of who you are. You learn that no matter what happens, you can keep moving forward. One common mistake is rushing past failure without fully understanding it. When you ignore lessons, you risk repeating the same mistakes. This can lead to frustration and discouragement. Growth requires slowing down long enough to learn before moving forward faster and smarter. Another important part of turning failure into growth is mindset. Viewing failure as feedback rather than defeat changes how you experience setbacks. Instead of feeling powerless, you see opportunities to adjust and improve. This mindset turns challenges into stepping stones. It's also valuable to share your failures with trusted people. Talking openly about your struggles can bring new perspectives and support. It reminds you that failure is a common experience, not a sign of personal weakness. Other people's feedback can help you spot blind spots and find solutions. Some failures are bigger and harder to accept than others. Sometimes you lose money, a job, a relationship, or a chance you've worked hard for. These losses hurt deeply, but even in these moments, there are lessons. They may teach you about priorities, boundaries, or what truly matters. They may force you to rethink your approach or discover new paths. When you keep moving forward after failure, you build momentum. Each step, no matter how small, reaffirms your commitment to growth. Momentum makes progress easier because it carries you through doubts and obstacles. Without momentum, setbacks feel like dead ends. It's also important to celebrate how far you've come, even if you haven't reached your final goal. Recognizing progress keeps you motivated. It reminds you that failure is just one part of a bigger journey. Your growth story includes victories and lessons alike. Turning failure into lessons requires patience. Growth doesn't happen overnight. You may have to fail multiple times before mastering a skill or achieving a goal. That's normal. Persistence is the bridge between failure and success. Remember that failure is often necessary for innovation. Trying new things means risking failure. Staying safe means staying the same. To become more, you must be willing to risk failure in pursuit of growth. The willingness to try despite uncertainty is what separates those who grow from those who don't. Finally, keep your focus on the future, not the past. You cannot change what has happened, but you can change how you respond. Use failure as a foundation for a stronger next step. Every failure is a lesson wrapped in disguise, and your job is to unwrap it, learn from it, and keep moving forward. You deserve more, but becoming more means accepting failure as part of the process. When failure comes, and it will, face it honestly, learn deeply, and refuse to stop. That's how you grow, how you build strength, and how you create a life that matches your true potential. Chapter 7. Eliminate habits that waste your time and energy. Becoming more means not just adding new skills or efforts, it also means cutting out what doesn't serve you. Habits that waste your time and energy are silent thieves. They steal your focus, drain your motivation, and keep you from reaching your full potential. The first step to growth is identifying and eliminating these habits so you can invest your time and energy where it counts. Everyone has habits that hold them back. Some are obvious, like scrolling social media for hours or procrastinating on important tasks. Others are subtle, like constantly checking your phone, multitasking ineffectively, or saying yes to too many things that don't align with your goals. These habits often feel harmless or even enjoyable in the moment, but their long-term impact is serious. The problem with bad habits is they create a false sense of productivity or satisfaction. You might feel busy, but not truly effective. You might feel connected, but not truly focused. You might feel like you're making progress, but really, you're just spinning in place. These habits waste your most valuable resources, time and energy, without producing meaningful results. Eliminating these habits requires awareness. You can't change what you don't notice. Start by observing your daily routines without judgment. Notice when you drift into unproductive behaviors. What triggers them? Are they boredom, stress, distraction, or avoidance? Awareness is the foundation of change because it helps you catch yourself before slipping into old patterns. Next, evaluate your habits based on their impact. Ask yourself, does this habit move me closer to who I want to become? Does it support my goals? If the answer is no, it's a candidate for elimination. Sometimes, the hardest part is admitting that something you enjoy or rely on is holding you back. But growth demands honesty. Once you identify habits to cut, focus on replacing them with better alternatives. Simply stopping a habit often creates a vacuum that can lead to relapse. Instead, find positive actions that satisfy the same needs. For example, if stress leads you to mindless scrolling, try replacing that with a short walk or deep breathing. If boredom leads to procrastination, schedule breaks that refresh your mind without derailing focus. Breaking habits is not about willpower alone. Willpower is limited and can be exhausted. Instead, redesign your environment to support change. Remove distractions, set boundaries, and create systems that make bad habits harder and good habits easier. For example, turn off unnecessary notifications, keep your phone in another room during work, or block distracting websites. Small changes in your environment have big effects. It's also important to be patient with yourself. Habit change is a process with setbacks. Slipping into old behaviors doesn't mean failure, it means you're human. The key is to get back on track quickly and not let one mistake spiral into giving up. Each day is a new opportunity to choose habits that serve your growth. Some habits waste energy by draining your mental focus. Negative self-talk, worrying about things beyond your control, or ruminating on past mistakes consume mental bandwidth that could be used productively. Training your mind to let go of these energy drains frees up space for creativity, problem-solving, and motivation. Another energy-wasting habit is multitasking. While it feels like you're doing more, multitasking actually reduces efficiency and increases errors. Focusing on one task at a time, fully and deliberately, produces better results and conserves mental energy. Quality beats quantity when it comes to focus. Sleep habits also play a crucial role in your energy levels. Poor sleep or irregular patterns drain physical and mental energy, making it harder to stay disciplined and motivated. Prioritize sleep hygiene by creating a consistent bedtime routine, limiting screen time before bed, and creating a restful environment. Eliminating habits that harm sleep leads to better energy for growth. Social habits can also waste time and energy. Constantly saying yes to social invitations that don't align with your goals or spending time with people who drain your energy can slow your progress. Being selective with how and with whom you spend your time protects your focus and motivation. One of the most overlooked habits wasting time is indecision. Spending too long overthinking or avoiding decisions drains energy and stalls progress. Developing the habit of making timely, informed decisions, even if imperfect, keeps momentum moving forward. You can adjust course later, but paralysis by analysis leads nowhere. Tracking your progress helps you spot habits that waste your resources. When you notice stagnant or declining results, review your daily routines. Small, unproductive habits can add up to big losses over weeks and months. Awareness and action based on real data accelerate habit change. Replacing bad habits frees up time for what matters. When you eliminate distractions, conserve energy, and focus your efforts, you create space to pursue your goals with clarity and purpose. Your productivity will improve, but more importantly, your confidence in your ability to control your life grows. The process of eliminating habits also builds self-discipline. Every time you choose not to engage in a time-wasting behavior, you strengthen your self-control muscle. Over time, this muscle becomes stronger and more natural. You'll find it easier to resist old habits and choose better ones. Growth requires making hard choices about how you spend your time and energy. You can't do everything, and not everything deserves your attention. Deciding what habits to keep and what to cut is a vital skill. It's about valuing yourself enough to protect your most precious resources. Finally, be mindful of habits disguised as rest or fun that actually drain you. Rest is necessary for growth, but not all rest is restorative. Passive scrolling, binge watching, or excessive gaming might feel like breaks, but if they leave you feeling tired or unmotivated, they're not truly serving you. Learning to rest well through movement, nature, meditation, or quality sleep is part of eliminating energy-wasting habits. You deserve more time, more energy, and more focus to become the person you want to be. Eliminating habits that waste these resources is not just about cutting back, it's about making room for growth. When you take control of your habits, you take control of your life. Chapter 8. Push yourself to work harder when it feels uncomfortable. Growth rarely happens when things are easy or comfortable. When you want more from life, you must be willing to push yourself harder, especially in those moments when it feels uncomfortable. This is where many people stop. They quit when the challenge becomes real, when the effort required exceeds what feels good or familiar. But pushing through discomfort is the gateway to becoming more. Discomfort is a sign that you're moving beyond your current limits. It's your mind and body signaling that you're in unfamiliar territory. That feeling might come as physical fatigue, mental exhaustion, or emotional resistance. All of it is normal. Instead of avoiding discomfort, recognizing it as part of the process changes how you experience it. Discomfort becomes a signpost, not a stop sign. Many avoid discomfort because it's unpleasant and sometimes scary. It triggers the part of your brain that seeks safety and certainty. But growth demands risk. That risk is not reckless, it's deliberate and controlled. Choosing to push harder in uncomfortable moments is choosing to prioritize your future over your present comfort. Working harder when it feels uncomfortable doesn't mean mindless effort or burning out. It means focused effort with intention. It means setting clear goals and breaking down hard tasks into manageable steps. When you break discomfort into smaller parts, it becomes easier to handle. The mind doesn't get overwhelmed and the body doesn't shut down. One challenge is that discomfort often leads to doubt. Your mind questions whether the effort is worth it. It whispers that quitting might be easier or smarter. That's why discipline is crucial. Discipline means choosing to act based on your long-term vision, not your immediate feelings. It means showing up even when you don't feel motivated. Another key to pushing through discomfort is to remember your purpose. Why did you start? What are you working for? Keeping your why in mind strengthens your resolve. It reminds you that the hard work now is building the foundation for a better future. Purpose turns discomfort from a burden into fuel. Physical discomfort in work or exercise often follows a pattern. It gets harder before it gets easier. When you first push beyond your limits, your muscles burn, your breath shortens, and fatigue sets in. But with consistency, your body adapts. The discomfort decreases, and what was once hard becomes manageable. This pattern also applies to mental and emotional challenges. Learning to work harder through discomfort builds resilience. Resilience is the ability to recover quickly from setbacks and keep moving forward. Every time you push through discomfort, you strengthen your resilience muscle. Over time, you become less sensitive to discomfort and more focused on your goals. It's also important to manage your mindset during uncomfortable moments. Instead of seeing discomfort as a threat, view it as a challenge or an opportunity. Changing your perspective shifts your emotional response and reduces stress. This mental shift makes it easier to keep working hard when things get tough. Rest and recovery are part of pushing harder effectively. Working hard doesn't mean ignoring your body's signals or burning out. It means balancing effort with rest so that you can sustain progress over time. Smart work includes knowing when to pause, recharge, and come back stronger. Support systems help during uncomfortable times. Having someone to encourage you or hold you accountable makes pushing through easier. Whether it's a friend, mentor, or coach, connection reduces feelings of isolation and strengthens your commitment. The discomfort you face now is temporary, but the rewards of pushing through last. Hard work builds skills, character, and confidence. It opens doors to opportunities that comfort never will. The satisfaction of overcoming challenges is a powerful motivator for continued growth. When discomfort feels overwhelming, break tasks into even smaller parts, or focus on just one step. Progress, no matter how small, is still progress. Moving forward gradually builds momentum, which reduces discomfort in the long run. The people who achieve great things are often those who kept pushing when others stopped. They worked harder when it was uncomfortable because they understood that growth is uncomfortable. They didn't wait for motivation or perfect conditions. They created results by taking action despite discomfort. You deserve more in life, but becoming more means embracing discomfort and pushing harder. Comfort is a trap that limits your potential. Discomfort is the bridge that leads to growth, achievement, and fulfillment. Choosing discomfort means choosing yourself. Chapter 9. Invest time in reading and learning every single day. Growth depends heavily on what you feed your mind. If you want to become more, investing time in reading and learning every day is essential. The world is constantly changing. New ideas emerge, and opportunities arise for those who stay curious and committed to learning. Reading and learning are the tools that keep your mind sharp, your skills relevant, and your perspective broad. Reading is more than a habit, it's an investment in yourself. Every page you turn builds knowledge, improves your thinking, and expands your understanding. Learning new information challenges old beliefs and helps you adapt to new situations. Over time, this daily habit accumulates into significant personal and professional growth. Many people underestimate the power of consistent, small daily learning. They assume growth happens only through big courses or dramatic changes. But progress is often the result of small, steady actions. Reading just a few pages or spending 15 minutes learning something new each day adds up. Over weeks and months, that time compounds into expertise and wisdom. When you read regularly, you also improve your ability to focus and concentrate. In a world filled with distractions, the skill to read attentively is rare and valuable. It trains your brain to stay engaged, absorb information deeply, and think critically. These skills transfer into all areas of life and work. Learning doesn't only come from books. It comes from articles, podcasts, documentaries, and conversations with knowledgeable people. The key is to make learning a daily priority, regardless of format. Find what works for you and fit it into your routine. The commitment matters more than the method. Investing time in learning also keeps you ahead in your career. Industries evolve, technologies advance, and expectations change. Staying updated through regular learning makes you adaptable and competitive. It allows you to seize new opportunities before others even notice them. Reading expands your vocabulary and communication skills too. When you expose yourself to new words and ideas, your ability to express yourself improves. This makes you more persuasive, confident, and effective in your interactions. Clear communication is a powerful tool for success in any area of life. The habit of daily learning fosters curiosity and a growth mindset. When you commit to learning, you acknowledge that you don't have all the answers and that there's always room to improve. This mindset opens doors and attracts opportunities. It keeps you humble and hungry for more. Consistency is the secret to making reading and learning a habit. Setting aside a specific time each day helps. Many successful people schedule learning early in the morning or before bed. These moments are often quiet and free from distractions, perfect for focused reading or listening. Another helpful strategy is to keep learning materials accessible. Carry a book, download podcasts, or save articles on your phone. This way you can use spare moments, waiting in line, commuting, or during breaks, to learn something valuable. Making learning convenient makes it easier to maintain the habit. Choose learning materials that align with your goals and interests. If you want to grow in your career, read books and listen to experts in your field. If you want to improve mindset or habits, pick books on psychology, motivation, or productivity. Relevance keeps you motivated and ensures your learning translates into action. Avoid overwhelming yourself by trying to learn everything at once. Focus on one topic or skill at a time until you build a solid foundation. Depth often beats breadth when it comes to learning. Deep understanding leads to mastery and confidence. Reflecting on what you learn is also important. Take notes, summarize ideas, or discuss new insights with others. Reflection deepens your understanding and helps transfer knowledge into real-life application. Passive reading, without reflection, rarely produces lasting change. Be prepared for challenges. Sometimes reading can feel difficult or slow, especially if the material is complex. Don't give up when it gets hard. Struggling with tough concepts means your brain is growing. Persistence builds mental toughness alongside knowledge. Investing time in daily learning doesn't have to be boring. Mix formats, topics and sources to keep it interesting. Read fiction to boost creativity, biographies to learn from others' experiences, or technical books to gain new skills. Variety keeps your mind engaged and excited. Surrounding yourself with other learners can also boost your commitment. Join book clubs, online learning groups, or discussion forums. Engaging with others helps you stay accountable and exposes you to different viewpoints. Learning becomes a shared journey rather than a solo task. Remember that knowledge alone isn't enough. You must apply what you learn. Use your daily learning to solve problems, make better decisions, and improve habits. Action turns information into growth. Without action, learning is just entertainment. Finally, understand that investing in reading and learning is a lifelong commitment. There is no finish line. The moment you stop learning, you start falling behind. Making daily learning a non-negotiable part of your life keeps you moving forward, adapting, and becoming more. You deserve more. And daily reading and learning are powerful ways to claim it. Commit to feeding your mind every day and watch how your life changes. Growth isn't accidental, it's intentional. Invest in yourself daily, and the returns will be extraordinary. Chapter 10. Take responsibility for every result you get. In life, taking responsibility for every result in your life is one of the most powerful steps you can take toward becoming more. Responsibility means owning your choices, actions, and their outcomes, whether they are good or bad. It's the foundation of personal power because when you accept responsibility, you stop blaming outside forces and start controlling what you can change. Many people struggle with this because it's easier to blame others, circumstances, or luck for where they are. It's tempting to say, if only this had happened, or it's not my fault. But as long as you point outside yourself for the cause of your results, you give away your power. Real growth begins the moment you look in the mirror and say, "This is on me." Taking responsibility doesn't mean beating yourself up or feeling guilty. It means being honest and clear about your role in your life's outcomes. When something doesn't go as planned, responsibility means analyzing your part without excuses or denial. You look for what you did or didn't do that contributed to the result. This approach is freeing because it puts you in the driver's seat. If you caused it, you can fix it. If you caused it, you can improve. If you caused it, you can do better next time. No matter how tough the situation, responsibility gives you control over your future. It's important to understand that responsibility includes your thoughts and attitudes too. How you think about a situation shapes your response and ultimately the results you get. Taking responsibility means owning your mindset and emotions as well as your actions. It means choosing how you interpret events and deciding how to react. Accepting responsibility for your results builds integrity and trust within yourself. You become someone who can rely on themselves, who follows through, and who stands accountable. This self-trust is crucial for confidence and long-term success. One of the biggest benefits of taking responsibility is that it stops the cycle of victimhood. When you see yourself as a victim of circumstances, you feel powerless and stuck. But responsibility creates power and possibility. It transforms challenges into opportunities to learn and grow. Taking responsibility also means accepting that you don't control everything. Life throws curveballs and unfair things happen. Responsibility is not about blaming yourself for everything. It's about focusing on what you can control, your actions and your responses. You can't change the weather, the economy, or other people's choices, but you can control how you respond. This mindset shift is crucial because it changes your energy. Instead of wasting time and emotions complaining or feeling sorry, you put that energy into solutions and growth. You become proactive rather than reactive. Another important part of responsibility is ownership of your commitments. If you say you're going to do something, you do it. If you miss a deadline or fall short, you own it, apologize if needed, and make a plan to do better. This builds respect from others and strengthens your own discipline. Responsibility also means learning from mistakes instead of hiding them. When you own your mistakes openly, you gain valuable feedback. Mistakes are often the fastest way to learn if you take responsibility and analyze what went wrong. It's natural to feel fear or shame when fully owning your results, especially the negative ones. But avoiding responsibility only leads to more problems. Facing results head-on, with honesty and courage, builds character and resilience. Taking responsibility improves relationships too. When you stop blaming others, conflicts reduce. People respect and trust those who are accountable. It creates a foundation of honesty and openness that deepens connections. This mindset also influences how you set goals. When you take responsibility, you set realistic goals you commit to. You don't rely on luck or hope. You create clear plans and do the work needed. Responsibility drives consistent action. In work and life, leaders stand out because they take responsibility. They don't wait for others to fix problems. They own the outcome and do what's needed. This attitude creates respect and opens doors for advancement. The habit of taking responsibility grows stronger with practice. Start by noticing moments when you blame or make excuses. Pause and ask, "What part did I play in this?" Then decide what you will do differently next time. Over time, this becomes automatic. It's also helpful to remember that responsibility is not a punishment. It's a tool. The more responsibility you take, the more control you have. The more control you have, the more freedom you experience. You deserve more in life, and taking responsibility is key to earning it. It puts the power in your hands. It allows you to learn from every experience and keep moving forward. It makes you the author of your story, not a bystander. Accept every result you get with honesty and courage. Own your part fully. Use each outcome as a stepping stone to become more than you were yesterday. This is how real growth happens, through responsibility.